pretty much everything here is sub-efficacious. The citrulline malate is balls on my head for sure. This, writing it as 4 grams citrulline is literally like Halo 2 Teabag City, bro. Like, that's how bad that is. What's up guys, Derek, moreplates.com. Today we are going over Gymshark's new pre-workout. I got tagged out the wazoo with this thing, and it is their first foray into the supplement space as far as I know. So they dropped this product. Boss, hi, we're launching our first pre-workout. Can you think of a way to announce it? Memes, question mark? Let's see. Imagine being someone who doesn't need to take any form of pre. These people are a different breed. POV, the boys' IG stories when taking pre-workout. Fucking hilarious. Mom, my child is so healthy, they're always working out. Me, needs pre-workout just to move heavy circles for 2 hours.
Hey bro, do you want some pre?
Nah, I'm all good, man. Honestly, I don't think I'll see you tonight. So.
Oh, okay. Here comes the aeroplane.
Give me the pre!
Hey bro, do you want some pre?
All right, and the caption, the ultimate pre, now available to shop for a limited time only. Eyes emoji, link in stories to shop. Link emoji, UK only. Please take pre-workout responsibly, plus follow the serving guidelines as advised on the packaging and product description online. Do you mean drenching myself in the fucking powder in the change room isn't the way to ingest this? Because that is what I've been led to believe, bro. All right, let's look at the formula. So the product is the ultimate pre is what they've said. It's the workout, the pre-workout hit you've been waiting for. Now we've got your conditioning covered inside out with Gymshark Pre. Our latest creation is made with an energizing blend of trusted performance ingredients designed to fuel your focus, enhance your physical performance, and reduce tiredness. And even better, it all tastes like blue raspberry. So whether you're preparing to perform or hitting PBs, make your next session, who says PBs, bro? Is this a UK thing, or is it am I just an idiot who calls it PRs? Make your next session that 1% better with Gymshark Pre. 30 servings. All right, so it is 30 sterling is what it is, 30 pounds sterling. This is $37.14 USD. So that's not expensive, but it's not cheap. This is kind of a middle of the road price range, and I would say, like, I would expect something half decent for this price, just put it that way. All right, let's see. Always prepared, bro. Physical performance is enhanced during high intensity exercise with creatine. Tiredness and fatigue is reduced with vitamin B3. This is niacin and B12. Tested and trusted ingredients in blue raspberry flavor, suitable for vegans, halal certified. Let's see. These panels are always so weird in the UK, where it's like per 100 grams and then per whatever the actual scoop is. All right, so we have salt. So not sodium, but just like sodium, like literal salt. That's interesting that it would be listed as like sodium chloride or salt. 319 milligrams. So, you know, that'll obviously help unless you already have gotten enough sodium in your day, which a lot of people do. So I don't think this is enough that it would skew the flavor system too dramatically, but this is something to be, I'm definitely mindful of, especially when we create our products, is why I think salt is typically more reserved for like hydration formulas, because you can get like a suboptimal amount of sodium, or you can actually push it into what would be deemed to be efficacious territory for like what you're sweating out in a hard, intense session. That amount that you're sweating out is not going to be restored in general by a pre-workout unless they're willing to have it taste salty when you're drinking it, to actually have a concentrated amount in that's like highly useful in my opinion. With that said, it's better, like, it's not zero and it's still something, so it could be useful potentially. Niacin, 40 milligrams. All right, so we have 250%. It is not clear what type of niacin it is. Is it nicotinic acid? Is it like, what is this? Vitamin B12, is this methylcobalamin or what is it? It doesn't say. I'm actually kind of surprised because this is like a massive mega company. You think they would have like stringent standards on like listing vitamin B12 as like what? Is it the B12? Is it like activated? Is it not? Is it the format that I would want personally as somebody with like certain genetic predispositions, it would be more advantageous to have certain forms of like methylated B vitamins. So like those dosages obviously meet RDAs and are fine. Is it going to help dramatically with energy? Like, I guess when you're working out, you could deplete your B vitamins, I guess, to some extent, at which point restoring, you know, could be useful if it's not done through diet. However, to like in certain ready to drink things, I understand why certain B vitamins are neglected. Because like, for example, when I was making an energy drink recently, that one of the B vitamins in particular, like totally skews the color of the product entirely. Whereas for a powdered formula, that I guess I can't actually see, where's the other ingredients? Flavoring, color, like it's colored. So is it gonna skew it that dramatically? Like it's missing a lot of like a full spectrum B complex. So like, why is it just niacin and B12? Why is it missing B6 or some of these other things that could be useful? I feel like they have chosen these two simply because it is the norm in the energy drink space to have at least 100% niacinamide as well as B12 in there. And I'm almost guaranteeing this is cyanocobalamin. I'm doubting they put methylcobalamin in, although it should say here actually. Let's see. Yeah, cyano and nicotinamide, not nicotinic acid. If you had nicotinic acid, you would expect that flushing, which is gonna be not typical of pre-workouts. Although I wouldn't be surprised if somebody put a flush niacin in there just to make you feel something. Similar to beta-alanine, which we'll get into shortly. Citrulline malate 2-to-1. So we have 4 grams per scoop. So one thing that I did notice that caught my eye that was not, I wasn't thrilled with the representation of, was the description. 4 grams citrulline.
Oh shit, here we go again.
You do not have 4 grams citrulline. You have 2.6 grams of citrulline. This is 4 grams of citrulline malate 2-to-1. This is exactly what I've talked about time and time again about what citrulline malate really is comprised of in the supplement industry. So this is a flow chart I have created and I've laid out many times. Bong, Magic Spoon cereal. Hopefully I didn't just fucking deafen some headphone users, bro. This is the high protein cereal that I use. 13 grams protein per serving. It's calorie friendly, keto friendly, 0 gram sugar, gluten free, grain free, and naturally flavored with monk fruit, inulin, allulose, and tastes awesome. This is my go-to cereal of choice, and I've ate it for years. A lot of you guys know this has been like an OG sponsor of the channel, and before they were a sponsor, I used to literally drive over the border when I was getting my blood work done. I would go drop by a P.O. box to then pick this stuff up, because back in the day before they actually shipped to Canada, I wanted it. So I would go to my P.O. box to pick it up every time I made a trip to the States. So it's that good. I think it's within striking distance of junky cereals that are terrible for you, but it concurrently hits your protein needs simultaneously without giving you vicious brain fog and inflammation like a traditionally disastrously unhealthy cereal that you would see in the the cereal aisle of your standard grocery store. I've really come to like it over the years, and there's a lot of awesome flavors. They have like their standard go-tos like cocoa, frosted, peanut butter, fruity, and on their site they have a myriad of others, including some limited edition ones that come and go, and they also have these cereal bars that are high protein too that I really like as well. You can check it out. The link is in the description below, magicspoon.com/Derek. You can use code Derek for $5 off, or use the link in the description below to save $5 off your order today. And they do ship to Canada and the UK now, so you don't have to drive over the border like I used to, which is nice. So you can check it out, support me, support them. Much appreciate when you guys use my links for companies that put their neck out for me in the channel. And back to the regularly scheduled programming. The manufacturing process for L-citrulline. This is the process start to finish to actually synthesize and come up with L-citrulline. Now, manufacturing process for citrulline malate. This is derived from literally having citrulline available already, in addition to DL malate. This is going to be combined in a vat. Literally says mix. It is not chemically bonded. There is no actual synthesis process by which you are like chemically binding these two things. You are just mixing it in a vat to create citrulline DL malate 2-to-1, when in reality, it's just fucking stirred up in a vat. There is no chemical bond to actually be able to claim this is a combined yield on a piece of paper, in my opinion. Like, this is something that is very misleading, and oftentimes companies will use to be like, look, the minimum dose, or I don't know, the max dose, or whatever dose, that it's an effective dose, like 4 grams of citrulline. Like, no, dude, you have 2.6 grams of citrulline and 1.3 grams of malic acid. And those are both woefully underdosed. What I would want to see is at least 6 grams of citrulline malate 2-to-1 if you were even going to keep this as citrulline malate 2-to-1. I think it is a misleading practice in the industry and a way to get away with making it seem like your label is more potent than it is. And you cannot say on your site, it is 4 grams of citrulline. Like, this was I can already tell at a glance there was not a lot of effort put into this product launch. Just put it that way, because no one with reasonable, thorough education in the supplement industry would have put out some of these statements about the formula, or even potentially came out with this formula at all. Like, maybe it'll sell well because they have such a giant customer base, the margin will be totally worth it and they'll still blow out of them, so it doesn't matter. But like, at a glance, this formula is very basic and weak. Creatine monohydrate, 3.25 grams. So if you have reached saturation, this is fine. Yeah, that would be fine. Creatine monohydrate, obviously a tried and true ingredient. One of the few compounds that has like a shit ton of literature to back up its ergogenic properties. It backfills, your stores of phosphocreatine, which you can then use during high intensity exercise to produce ATP. Through osmosis, you bring more water into the muscle cell, you get more body weight out of that, you get more strength, you get more muscle size. The ability to recruit more strength in the gym allows you to then build more size as a consequence of that. In addition, there is some interactions with myonuclei and satellite cell donation, myonuclear donation to damaged muscle fibers, and some other stuff that is a bit more nuanced when it comes to kind of like de-stressing your body from a methylation standpoint too. There are a lot of people with genetic predispositions that would benefit even more from creatine supplementation. Has positive impacts on neurology, fertility. Like, there are so many things that come from creatine that often go overlooked when people just think like, oh, it's this thing that makes me hold water. And it's like, it's so much more than the ergogenic properties or like the, I don't know, like muscular bloating properties or whatever. So this is a compound that is tried and true, and 3.25 grams it'll be enough for some people for sure. But again, even 5 grams, like some people need more. I've done a video on, do you need 10 grams? Like, it's 5. Why is 5 the holy grail number? It's not. This is just more bro lore that is passed down the grapevine over years, that 5 grams, like, how does it make logical sense that 5 grams of creatine, when you have protein needs that are dictated on body weight, and your buddy who's 150 pounds, does he require the same amount of protein to grow as you do at 220 pounds? Fuck no, of course not. That makes no logical sense. So with creatine, why is it that everyone says 5 grams is all you need? No, if you weigh less, you can get away with less creatine. If you weigh more, you have more of a demand for creatine to actually saturate and be able to get the most out of it. So if you're a creatine non-responder, you might just not be using enough, bro. Or you might have increased methylation, demands from a methylation side of things if you have genetic predispositions like myself. A lot of people with European ancestry and whatnot have this thing called MTHFR. Maybe you've heard of it. I've talked about it in videos before. I don't want to go too deep down the rabbit hole, but basically this is something you can check through 23andMe or some of these other sites that assess your genetics. But basically what you need to know is a gram of creatine is produced endogenously in your body, which is, naturally you produce 1 gram a day, and then some people get some through diet as well. But you burn through a certain amount as well to support physiologic functions. And then in addition to that, if you weigh more or you have more demands from the recovery side of things, or you're more muscular or what have you, you might be otherwise deficient in what you could be topping off. And in addition to that, there are certain things genetic predisposition wise that predispose you to having either a harder time synthesizing the creatine endogenously, or you deplete other nutrients and subsystems in your body in order to create that creatine just to reach like base level borderline deficient status to begin with. Like for me, I'm homozygous C677T of MTHFR. That sounds like an absurd statement. You're like, what the fuck did you just say? This is something you can check in your genetics. And for me, it results in 80 to 90% decrease in my efficiency in processing folic acid, which as a byproduct, I could have high homocysteine, lower B12 and folate levels. And for me, creatine supplementation can significantly lower my homocysteine and offset that. And it really, really lowers the depletion of methyl groups in the body. So for me, above and beyond the ergogenic properties, like there is also health support, which a lot of people might be missing out on. So it is definitely worth adding for a lot of people, in my opinion. And 3.25 grams is it's not nothing. It's definitely a reasonable dose, although most people will probably be best served with around 5. But again, some people need way more than that too. All right, on to beta-alanine, 2 grams. One of our favorite ingredients on the channel, bro. A lot of you guys are probably laughing. If you're not new here, you know why this is funny. So 2 grams of beta-alanine. What do I think? It is a carnosine precursor that at satisfactory saturation dosages can provide a fairly significant boost in muscular endurance during bouts of exercise exceeding 60 seconds in duration in general. For short 8 to 12 rep hypertrophy style bodybuilding movements, are you going to get a lot out of beta-alanine supplementation? Even if you've reached saturation, probably not. However, does it have no use? No, it has use. The problem is in pre-workouts, does it have use? Almost never. This is something that once it's built up in your system, the studies show that 179,000 milligrams, 179 grams is the dose at which you can achieve this like 2 to 3% boost in endurance in bouts of exercise exceeding 60 seconds, blah, blah, blah. But in order to arrive at that dose, this is something that needs to build up in your system over time. Similarly to creatine, like I'm sure you've heard of the loading dose of creatine and, you know, should you do a loading phase. With beta-alanine, this is an ingredient that oftentimes has no utility in pre-workouts because it is featured, for example, at this abysmal 2 gram dose. How much is it going to contribute to the 179 gram top end that actually gets you to this 2 to 3% outcome? Like negligibly, if not fucking imperceivably at all. And in order to build up there, how many times am I going to need to take this in a row to actually reach your target goal with beta-alanine? You want to be using it at minimum 3.2 grams every single day, but more actually useful, where you would actually get good utility out of it. And the dose you should be using it if you're trying to use it for its actual benefits and not just for face itching is 6.4 grams. You want to be taking that every day, and by about a month in, you're going to be at that top end dose where you're getting that little boost in muscular endurance. Now, why is it even in here then? It is because it has achieved a level of notoriety in the industry for its acute effects inducing paresthesia. So paresthesia is when you get that itchy feeling on your face, your extremities, your goddamn butthole. This is the ingredient that will make you have your foot itch in the middle of your workout and you can't scratch it because you'd have to take off your shoe in order to scratch the bottom of your foot. Is it increasing your performance? If making your face itch gives you some sort of sense of urgency in the gym and makes you feel like motivated to work out because you feel cracked out or something, it is non-stimulatory, by the way. It doesn't actually crack you out. It just makes you look cracked out and you itch like you're on crack, I guess. But it's a very, very useful ingredient in the right context is the notable kind of caveat to this ingredient. And almost always the place it has in pre-workouts is misaligned, totally misinterpreted. The perception of it, I think it's so overhyped. In an acute performance setting, it is not going to be useful outside of the placebo face itches. So again, if you actually want to get the benefits out of it, it is good when it is used correctly. And I think to use it correctly, you could argue that, well, I like the face itches, I like it in my pre-workout, and then I can just supplement on top. That is probably the best strategy. If you're somebody who enjoys the paresthesia as well as the benefits it provides, then supplement on top of it and reach that 6.4 gram dose per day and you'll be good. And that is where it actually achieves what I see to be useful utility. In the context, of course, because again, like how many of us are doing bouts of exercise exceeding 60 seconds in duration on a regular basis? Are you like a CrossFit athlete? Like what? That is where like a CrossFit athlete would fucking hugely benefit from beta-alanine. Absolutely, you should be using 6.4 grams a day, especially when it's not like a WADA tested thing. But for the average, meathead, gym rat, whatever, gym goer, is it going to have utility acutely? Before the gym, 3 or 4 times a week in your pre-workout, essentially useless at this dose. Taurine at 200 milligrams. All right. So taurine is an interesting ingredient. You see it in almost every energy drink. I feel like at this point it has some level of almost similar to the B3 and B12. These companies feel like they have to use it. It's just part of like the MO of an energy drink at this point. But it's interesting because what does it do? So taurine has unique properties that make it potentially useful for recovery from exercise and combating fatigue and whatnot. However, it is also a potent antioxidant and acts on the glycinergic and GABAergic systems in the body. What is that exactly? We're talking about the GABA receptors and the glycine receptors, which are things that are anxiolytic, meaning they will relax you and actually cause like bring you down. So is this something that you want to be using in a pre-workout context? You want something that binds to both the GABA A and GABA B receptors and also binds to the glycine receptors and has interactions that shift you into a parasympathetic state when you need to have your CNS red line to be cranked up for a lift and have even your blood pressure elevated like acutely for a fucking bench press or whatever? Is this something you want inhibiting your stimulants? Is this something you want that is inhibiting your aggressiveness? No, that is my natural conclusion when I think of taurine. From a neurotransmitter perspective, I do not see the logic in putting it in a pre-workout personally. I see the utility in a muscular recovery context around the workout perimeter separately. I also see its potential as an antioxidant. It has actually very potent antioxidant effects. But again, antioxidant too, is that something I want in my peri-workout window? No, I don't want to be offsetting inflammation. In fact, I want to be inflamed from the workout. That is what is going to actually induce the stress response and the hormetic stress that otherwise tells my body to adapt. There has been lots of studies, well, not lots, but there's been a literature to suggest and show conclusively enough that it scares me away from antioxidants in the peri-workout window, that using things like vitamin C and other things that are going to act as antioxidants in the body are going to inhibit hypertrophy and performance indirectly through inhibiting the stress response of the workout and kind of like dulling the signal, so to speak. So this is not something I want to be attenuating during a workout, nor do I want to be antagonizing or kind of like counteracting the stimulatory stuff I'm taking. Like, why would I be taking a fuck ton of caffeine to then also take something that binds to the GABA A and GABA B receptors? Like, it's like two totally separate things you're trying to achieve at the same time. It just doesn't make sense. So to me, I don't think taurine is an ingredient that I see as like a net positive in a pre-workout setting for like strength athletes, bodybuilders, etc. And 200 milligrams is a shit dose, unfortunately. Like, this is something that I would want to see personally at a dosage of like in the grams range, at least at a gram personally. Like even energy drinks that are not trying to make a crazy margin are going to put, like, I'm pretty sure Monster has like fucking 1,000 milligrams of taurine in it even. So this is a very, very bad dose in my opinion. So I guess you don't even need to worry about the antioxidant effects because you probably just won't get them. Caffeine, 200 milligrams. Is this a dose that is going to be performance enhancing? In the literature I've seen with the milligram per kilogram studies, I don't necessarily know that this dose is going to be like giving you acute performance benefits depending on body weight. However, everyone has their own stimulant tolerance. It's not like you should just be going by study metrics for caffeine because, again, stimulation is individual dependent. Some people will have a coffee and they're off the fucking wall. Some people, they have a full scoop of this and they feel nothing. 200 milligrams is a reasonable middle ground and I think is representative of what is a good dose for like a Gymshark product that is to be sold to the masses. 200 milligrams is not too high, but it's not too low. I think this is a good choice for them. Creatine, 100 milligrams. This is a alkaloid structurally similar to caffeine, if I remember correctly, and is like this dosage, I guess, is okay. It seems on the low end, but I'm just not a big fan of Creatine. Like, this is something that was meant to be the non-tolerance building, stimulatory, like clean caffeine, but when I use it, I just feel nothing personally. It's like an expensive, almost negligible add-on that you need to be like hypersensitive to feel, in my opinion. I think, like, I even had it in our stimulant-free nootropic formula before, and I removed it because even in that, a stimulant-free formula, most people couldn't even discern the difference between having something in there versus not having it in there. And it's such an expensive ingredient, it just didn't make sense to me. So some people like Creatine, some people really, really like it. I just don't. I think it is weak. I think it is overhyped personally a little bit, and not a fan. But again, there are only so many things you can do from like the mental stimulation, psychoactive side of things that is going to be useful. So I understand when they're trying to come up with a straight edge ingredient to complement their caffeine. Creatine, logical conclusion perhaps for them. Now, overall, do I think this formula is worth the $37.14? Nope. It is a rough one, dude. It's not quite a balls on your head formula, but it's kind of like, for this company clearly was like, we have such a big audience, so many people who just trust us and otherwise buy our shit. And if we just come out with anything and slap our label on it at this point, you know, enough people are going to buy it that make it worthwhile. It's a fun little thing we're doing and you will feel something. So yeah, you'll feel something. It might, like, pretty much everything here is sub-efficacious. The citrulline malate is balls on my head for sure. This writing it as 4 grams citrulline is literally like Halo 2 teabag city, bro. Like that's how bad that is. Creatine monohydrate at 3.25 is okay. Like I said, the beta-alanine is, you've already teabagged me and now you're just wiping your balls on my face. Taurine, pitiful. You might as well take a shit before you leave on my head. Caffeine, good. T-crane, whatever. That is my interpretation of the formula. Let me know what you guys think. So I personally think they could have done much better. I think that you could have moved the citrulline malate to 6 grams at least. I think the beta-alanine could have been bumped to 3.2. I think the taurine could have been pushed up if they actually believe in that ingredient and, you know, you wanted to push it. This could have been a reasonably well-rounded, like decent entry level, like newbie friendly pre that is seen as efficacious for not that much more money. Well, again, it's not nothing. It's, you know, enough money that obviously they didn't deem it worthwhile, or their person who developed this just doesn't know anything, or he was given such a brutal budget that he was forced to make something this cheap. I don't really know, but I don't like it. I think they are taking advantage of their audience a little bit with this one, and I wouldn't buy it myself.